Welcome to Unit 3, Exercises 8-2 and 8-3, Food Cost Percent. We will be using the third and final pyramid. Like the previous two, this pyramid works the exact same way. If we have two values that are on top of each other, we divide to get the missing third. If we have two values on top of each other, we divide to get the missing third. If we have the food cost percent and the selling price, they're side by side, we multiply and that'll get us the top portion, or in this case, this pyramid, the FC stands for food cost. This is what it will cost to produce whatever it is that we are trying to sell. The food cost percent is the part of every dollar you make that will go and pay for the cost of the food you use in your restaurant. And the SP is the holy grail. This is the selling price or the menu price, what the customer pays for what it is that we are selling. This is what this whole semester has been about, to be able to calculate the selling price so that it will meet our financial expectations. So let's take a look at how this works. In the first example in our exercise 8-2, we're given a list of costs, we're given a list of sales, and we're told to find the food cost percent. So according to our pyramid, right now we are looking for the food cost percent, so we must have these two values, and since they're on top of each other, we will divide those two. So we'll take the cost of $200, we'll divide it by the sales price or the menu price of $500, and we get 40%. In other words, if we had sales of $500 today and it cost us $200 in food, well, 40% of every dollar we made will go to pay for the cost of that food. And we do the same thing here with a cost of $178.50 and sales of $700. We divide these two to get 25.5%, and costs of $127.80 divided by sales of $450, we get a food cost percent of 28.4%. Let's look at it in a different way with the pyramid. This time we're looking for the selling price. So we must have the food cost and the food cost percent, and because they're on top of each other, we'll divide these two to get the selling price. Here's a list of costs. Here's a list of food cost percents. A cost of $1.18 divided by a food cost of 31% means that we should sell this item for $3.85. If we have a cost of $2.93 for a menu item and our food cost percent is 28.5%, we should sell it for $10.25. And finally, a menu item where the food cost is $4.17, and again, the food cost, it's what it's costing us, the restaurant, to make this menu item, and our food cost percent is 34.25%. We divide these two and we get a sales price or a menu price of $12.15. Please make sure to notice that I am always giving the unrounded number, and I am rounding to the nearest number or nearest price ending in 5 cents, because that's what the instructions are telling me. Let's take a look at the pyramid. The one other way we can use it, we are looking for the food cost, so we will take the food cost percent and multiply it by the selling price. So food cost percent of 28%, and we had sales of $500. Food cost percent times sales gives us $140. So it cost us $140 in food to generate sales of $500. Same thing down here, 34.8% times $225, the amount of sales we had, divide those two, it cost $78.30 in food to generate $225 in sales. And the last one, 29.7% multiplied by the sales of $790 shows us that we had food costs of $234.63 to generate that sales of $790. This is a neat little table that shows you how to use this pyramid all three different ways. We have a list of costs, we have a list of selling prices, and we have a list of percents. If we have two of these values, we can easily calculate the missing third one. In A, we were given a cost of $1.20, and we were given a food cost percent of 32%. They're on top of each other, so if we divide it, we get the selling price. $1.20 in cost divided by a 32% food cost percent means our selling price should be $3.75. In B, we were given the selling price and the percent. The selling price and the percent. They're side by side, so if we multiply them, that will give us the food cost. So the selling price of $12.95 times the food cost percent of 45% shows us that the cost for this is $5.83. Or in other words, it cost us $5.83 in food to cook this menu item that we sold for $12.95. And finally, in C, we're looking for the food cost percent. I'm sorry, I'm lying to you. We're looking for the food cost percent. So to do the food cost percent, we must have the food cost and the selling price. They're on top of each other, so we divide. There is the cost, there is the selling price. Cost divided by selling price gives us a food cost percent of 42.9%. So let's take a look at some practical ways of using all of this information. Question 1 reads, a prime rib roast weighs 7.5 kilograms raw and 5.85 kilograms cooked. What is the yield percent? Well, we know to get the yield percent, we must have the EP as purchased and the EP edible portion and the AP as purchased. We are only given these two numbers, but they're not labeled in any way to let us know what's going on, so we actually have to do a little bit of thinking. While it is possible to buy cooked meat for your restaurant, here they're saying that we bought something that was raw and then we cooked it. So it's easy to see that the 7.5 kilograms is our AP, what we originally purchased, and after we cooked and prepared our prime rib roast, we only had 5.85 kilograms left, so that's our EP. So remembering that we take the EP and we divide it by the AP, that's what gives us the yield percent. So 5.85 kilograms divided by 7.5 kilograms gives us a yield percent of 78. Now the purchase price was $6.55 per kilogram. Let's calculate the cost per kilogram of cooked prime rib. What we're looking for here is the EP unit cost. EP unit cost. And the formula for EP unit cost is the AP unit cost divided by the yield percent. They gave us the AP unit cost in the question, and we just finished calculating the yield percent in the question above it. So the AP cost divided by the yield percent, rounded to the nearest cent, our EP unit cost is $8.40. And again, you see the difference, $8.40 for the EP, been prepared, been cooked, been trimmed, as opposed to the $6.55 per kilogram when we had just purchased it. So the difference in the two prices makes up for the 22% that is missing from our original purchase. Let's take this one step further. We now know that an EP cost per kilogram is $8.40. We need to calculate the cost of a 200-gram portion of our cooked prime rib, simply because we're probably selling our prime rib in 200-gram portions. So now we're unit costing. So we're going to take our EP unit price, $8.40. We're going to divide it by 1,000 because there are 1,000 grams in a kilogram, and $8.40 divided by 1,000 will give us the cost of 1 gram. We'll multiply that by the 200-gram portion that we're looking for, and we see that a 200-gram portion of cooked prime rib is $1.68. Now, if we wanted to sell just 200 grams of cooked prime rib to our customer, we would have to take the EP cost and divide it by the food cost percent. So here is our EP cost of $1.68 divided by 28% gives us $6, and we just repeat the same thing for the 34% and the 40%. Remember your pyramid. If you're looking for the selling price, you take your food cost and you divide it by your food cost percent. work that down for all three of these.